Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the half square triangle. So if you want to figure out how to create this design using the half square triangle, please stay tuned. So the first big question is, what is a half square triangle and why am I using it in the quilt that I'm going to be creating next? So to answer the first question, a half square triangle is made by taking a square like this, and this is a little bit smaller than what we'll be working with, but you take a square like this and we're going to cut it from diagonal to create the triangle. Not diagonal to diagonal. We're going to cut from one corner to the opposite corner in a diagonal line, and that's what's going to make the triangle. So I'll go ahead and cut it now. I'm just going to place my ruler at each corner. And then give it a quick cut. Okay, and what that does basically is it creates a right triangle. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. Okay, so now what we've done is we've created two triangles, and each one of these triangles is half of a square. Therefore, it's a half square triangle. And why is it important for my quilt? That's a good question. Let me show you the design that I'm going to be working with next. I'm going to be using the chevron design to create my next quilt, and the reason that it's important for this particular quilt to know what a half square triangle is because this is basically all half square triangles. So it's going to be important for me to learn how to use those triangles to help create the pattern and to create the individual blocks. So the first thing I did, of course, was figure out the measurements of my quilt, which I already have. This quilt is going to be a twin, so approximately 68 inches wide by 86 inches long. Okay, so each one of my rows is going to be each one of my blocks is going to be about 4 inches square. Okay, which means that the finished or the pre-sewn block must be 4.5 inches, and that's why I need to figure out how to cut my half square triangles so that my finished blocks end up being that 4.5 inches. All right, so what I started with, of course, was the 4.5, and then I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I should make it a 1/2 inch bigger, and so I cut 5-inch half square triangles, and I marked those. So I'm going to take just a second to sew them and press them. So I finished this block, and now the test is to see if it ends up at 4.5 inches. So I'm just going to place the ruler on top of it. And so this one, it ends up just a little bit above 4.5. So it's almost at the 4 3/4 mark. So that is obviously too big for what we need. So back to the drawing board. What I'm going to do next is, to get it a little bit smaller, I'm going to try the 4 3/4 inch. And what I've done is I've cut the squares at 4 3/4 inch, and then I cut the triangles on the diagonal to make these triangles. So let's see how well that works. Be back in a minute. Okay, so let's see how the 4 3/4 yards did. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you look closely, it's not quite at 4.5. So I really need it exactly at 4.5. So the next thing that I'll do is I'm going to use 4 7/8 inch squares to create triangles. Let's see how that works out. So here's the test of the 4 7/8 inch half square triangles. And let's count 1, 2, 3, 4.5, and it's really close to 4.5, so I'm really excited. I'm going to do one more test on it just to verify my hypothesis. I'll be right back. I also made some smaller blocks because my letters are going to have a few diagonals. Let me show you how that works. See how this block right there, it has some half square triangles, so you can see that as you go through the name block, and the rest of them will be squares. Let me show you. Let me take just a quick second and show you what the chevron is going to look like when it's finished. I'm going to take my drawing, and these are just some of the triangles that I've made. So let me turn it this way. Here. Here. And so you can see just with the this is just like a little snippet of what it would look like with that chevron pattern, so you can just imagine how awesome it's going to be when it's all sewn together. Thank you so much for watching. If you have questions, please comment below, thumbs up the video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.